you out of here in time to get home for the Taylor Swift show. Vikings game. Sorry. Some thank yous before we start. Paula Dirks from Unique Creations does all of the plaques, and we appreciate that. Don Haugen at Quality Printing does all of the programs that you have. Oh, sorry. I don't think I need this that badly, but some of it, Bruce might. I don't know. So thank you to Paula Dirks from Unique Creations. Thank you to Don Haugen with Quality Printing for doing the programs. The Roseau School, Ken Hayden for turning the mic on. Ken, thank you so much. Tom Jerome and the school board, the kitchen and custodial staff, and Titus Queen, I think, is up in the sound booth. Titus, oh, you're right there. Titus, thank you very much for what you do. Thank you to Terry Gottsman, because this Hall of Fame wouldn't exist except for Terry. So Terry, thank you so much for what you do. Thank you to Citizen State Bank for the plaque and the programs and all of their ongoing support of Roseau Athletics. Thanks to the Roseau Athletic Hall of Fame committee members, some of whom are here today. If those members wouldn't mind standing up. Stu's behind me. Gotsy's over here. Who am I missing? Oh, Jane Evans is right over there. Tracy Wensloff is somewhere up here. I don't know where he went. Right there. Okay. Norm Flagstead, who served on the committee for a number of years. Thanks, Norm. Appreciate that. To the Roseau community for fostering excellence in athletics and academics and everything else Roseau. And a reminder, coffee and treats, and a chance to visit with the honorees after the program. So please join us for that. And honorees, presenters, after we're done, there'll be a picture taken in front of the plaques. So please gather in front of the plaques when we're done, if you don't mind. So with that, let's begin this program. And I'd love to introduce a gentleman who is a first grade teacher at the Roseau School. What he says is he is smarter than all, taller than most. Please welcome Brian Bergstrom.
First of all, congratulations to everyone who's being inducted into the Athletic Hall of Fame. And thank you guys for showing up here to share these great accomplishments that these people have done. So I was thinking when we got asked to do this about Sarah, and just was going through all the things that she has accomplished in her careers, and thinking about Miss Hockey for the top female player in the state of Minnesota, goes to the Gophers, is a captain of the Gophers, wins a national title from going and playing for the U.S., winning a gold medal. So the accomplishments are large and huge and a lot. But I decided to write down some stuff so I wouldn't forget anything. Just about what sort of came to my mind when I was thinking of Sarah and when I was coaching her and stuff. So first thing that came to mind was her work ethic and her ability that she had. So Sarah consistently worked at becoming a better player by understanding the game. I thought that was really important. She really wanted to know how to play the game. All the on-ice, off-ice practices that she would do, maybe drills, summer programs that she attended, or teams that she made, and the endless hours that she spent at the rink. Or like I was thinking, it was probably a pond, could have been a river, could have been anything, a puddle that was frozen. I'm sure if it was frozen, Sarah was out there skating on it. But I don't believe it was ever work for her because of the love she had for the game and how much she enjoyed it. Her first year with Roseau, going with her ability, could be off a little bit with this. I went back and got some of the old stuff. And Sarah had 31 goals her first year. The previous year, our entire team had 35 goals. So that's what she meant to us. But the more impressive thing was, as I was looking through all the goals, is how many times her name came up as an assist. And she had 21 assists that year also. And that just goes to show she wasn't an individual. She wanted to play the game how it should be played by moving the puck and having everybody involved. Let's see. First goal. So it would be probably a little bit funnier if Sarah was here, but her first goal, I remember like it was yesterday. I'm sure Sarah does too. We were playing in Fergus Falls, and we decided we were gonna do a special drill that Sarah was gonna be on the back side of the goal line. Our center was gonna win the draw. The winger would go out, split between the centers, and hit the far boards, where Sarah was gonna ring the puck around. So we're sitting there, we called it. We win the draw, it goes right back to Sarah. I'm watching our winger go up, and by George, she's swinging between the 2D, and this thing is gonna work, and I'm getting excited on the bench, and all of a sudden Fergus Falls is cheering. I'm like, well, what's going on? Well, when she went to shoot the puck behind the net, she put it in the short side of our net. So I said she had 31 goals, but she actually had 32. So leadership, Sarah never made it about herself. She never talked, bragged about anything she had or was accomplishing. She led by examples and always encouraged her teammates to work as a team and not be individuals. Sometimes things were a little unfair for Sarah on the ice because of her ability and her strength she has as a skater. We're in Detroit Lakes, and she's carrying the puck behind her net. She's coming around the corner, and this girl comes over to try to cut her off and sort of falls a little bit and hits her head on her stick. And the ref puts his arm up in the air. I'm like, well, what is this for? So he come over to the bench, and I said, what is she getting a penalty for? And he said, high sticking. And so how does she get a penalty for high sticking? She's carrying the puck. Well, that's what I saw, Coach. So Sarah was a little upset about it too, so she's in the box, and I was looking at her, just settle down, everything's gonna be okay. So she sits her 2 minutes, she goes out on the ice, and she goes right to the far blue line. They try to dump the puck out, she holds it in, she starts skating towards the net, and this girl comes at her, runs into her, she falls over, ref's arm comes up again. I'm like, what's going on now? Sarah gets a penalty, 2 minutes for checking. And I'm like, she had the puck, the girl fell and ran into her. So I told Sarah, just relax, everything's gonna be okay. So this is honest now. Penalty's up, 2 minutes, she comes out on the ice, grabs the puck at center ice, go down, shoves, scores. And the ref is going by, and I said, I suppose you're gonna give her 2 minutes for that too? And he said, no, but you're getting 2 minutes. You're on Sportsman and Forrest doing your penalty. And I looked at Sarah, and Sarah said, don't worry, relax. So, Sarah didn't just, the thing that also really I thought about is it just wasn't her excellent work ethic as a hockey player, was her outstanding. She was a great ambassador for the Roseau girls hockey team. We were finally getting credibility. Sarah was such a good player, she made everybody else around her so good that we started to get teams like, we were having Hill Murray, Minnetonka, Edina, that wanted to start playing us because we were still not up to their par yet, but we were playing hard and playing as a team. So even though Sarah moved away from Roseau, I believe she's always, will be and has been, a Ram at heart. During her college careers as a Gopher and after, when she would come home to visit family or just come to say hi to people, she was always willing to come to our practices. She was always willing to help out. Most often I said, yeah, but you gotta bring a drill. And she most often would do the drills, and the girls loved it. In Bemidji, where she had won Miss Hockey, they had a nice plaque of her on there. But whenever we were there, we always took a piece of paper or tape and put an R on it, put it over that B that we didn't like so much. But the last thing before we get going here is again, she was always willing to help out. So we're down at the state tournament in 2012, and we lost our first game, so we went to the Ritter, where of course the Gophers play the girls. And locker rooms aren't very nice, they really aren't. So we had sticks all over in the room, and I was a little hyper back then, so I was getting ticked off that the sticks were tipping over, and they're in the way, so I told Jeff, next game, when we come back, those sticks have to be out in the hallway. So we won that game, so we come back for the consolation championship, told Jeff, get those sticks out in the hallway, I'm not dealing with it. So he's gone for a little bit, and he comes back in, he says, you need to come out in the hallway. And I said, what for? He said, just come and look. So all of our sticks were lined up. Over half of them said property of the Gophers, Sarah Erickson on it. Get the sticks back into the locker room. We had to put tape around it. We put 110% instead. So again, it's an honor and a privilege to induct Sarah into the Roseau Hall of Fame. And Jack is going to come up and read something. Thanks,
Can't believe that Bergie was complaining to referees. Wormy, he never complained to you, did he?
Right here.
Oh, yeah. Never did he?
Not Bertie.
So Sarah lives in Massachusetts. Her husband is an assistant college hockey coach at UMass Amherst, and for those of you who know assistant coaches at that level, they're on the road all the time. And Sarah's son is playing a hockey tournament in New Hampshire, so she apologizes. She couldn't be here, but she sends this acceptance letter. What an incredible honor to be inducted as a Roseau Hall of Famer. While I'm a bit of a fly under the radar person, I can't help but feel incredibly grateful and proud to be added to the list of such talented athletes and coaches. But mostly I'm proud to be in company with a whole lot of amazing people, many of whom helped guide my path to success as an athlete and as a person. There's no comparison to a childhood of growing up and playing hockey or any sport in a town like Roseau. My husband calls my childhood a fairy tale, out of both support and jealousy. I often think he's not far off, and what he means by a fairy tale is opportunity. Growing up in Roseau allowed me the platform to take advantage of all the opportunity and support to grow as a quality young person and athlete. Endless ice time, free or affordable athletics, quality coaching, and a ton of positive encouragers along the way is really a recipe for success if you take advantage of the opportunity. The endless support from community members during youth hockey all the way through high school is seriously unmatched. The many coaches I was blessed with during my youth hockey years framed such a great balance of accountability and love that created a passion within me from a young age. Thank you endlessly to those coaches like Keith Haugen, Dave Wensloff, John Wensloff, Jay Ness, Dick Johnson, and many others. The boys I played with and against were so crucial to me finding confidence and passion in my play, as well as lasting friendships that I still look forward to coming back to with every visit home. We had a heck of a group that had so many faces, all deserving to be up on the Hall of Fame wall. I can't thank those youth hockey boys enough for the incredible memories, battles, and endless hours at the North Rink. Moving on to girls high school hockey in 7th grade after having played with the boys for so long initially felt like a challenge in many ways. As a young person navigating a new role, I remember being greeted with such open arms by the older girls, again a group of encouragers that turned a challenge into another stepping stone for me. Those girls were really the pioneers of Roseau girls hockey, and along with Brian Bergstrom and Paul Grafstrom, started the building blocks for a successful girls program then and in the future. Bergie allowed me the opportunity to become a leader at a very young age by noticing a talent and helping mold it by demanding my best, whether practice or a game. Most games, he even demanded me to change from offense to defense, back to offense, all in one 5-minute shift before coming off the ice. Talk about building a two-way player. Brian continued to encourage and build a work ethic that went on to be something I found profoundly unmatched at all levels of play. So thank you, Bergie, for helping guide me throughout critical development years as a person and a player. It made my time as a Ram such a fun era to look back on, and allowed me the platform to see my dreams, showcase my talent, and achieve my goals. Now, as a parent of a young developing youth hockey player, I find myself even more grateful for the opportunities my past coaches, supporters, and community members of Roseau provided for me. Because of them, I was able to create lasting friendships, outstanding memories, and a very successful athletic career. As I close, I have to thank the most important pieces of my journey, my family. My extended family of aunts, uncles, and cousins seriously provided such a huge belief and support system that allowed my dreams to become a reality. My grandparents rarely missed a game and always told me how great I played, whether they believed it or not. And most important, my parents and my brother are the most critical leaders in my athletic career. They gave me the opportunity to chase a passion and the vision to grow a dream. Their selflessness in saying yes to crucial development opportunities, even when it wasn't the most convenient, easiest, or financially friendly path for them, is something I grow more and more grateful for each year. So Mom, Dad, and Josh, thank you for your unselfish devotion to a girl who had a dream and for pushing me outside my comfort zone to realize my potential. I owe this to you. Thank you again, Roseau, for the incredible nomination. It's such an honor to be a member of this Hall of Fame. Sarah Erickson. Renee, you said you wouldn't cry? You didn't? Next, I'd like to introduce a former Ram goaltender, former UND goaltender, now best known as Mr. Brainerd Lakes Insurance, Jake Brent.
Thank you. What an honor to be here today again. I've had an opportunity to be here quite a bit lately with our 99 Rams team and then with us in Buffalo last year. And it's just always such a treat to be here. I know my Uncle Bruce Falk got a little nervous. To be honest, I told him, so am I. Everyone thinks, oh, you go on TV. Well, you stare at a camera lens. You don't see anybody in front of you. So I jokingly said, do you realize public speaking is the worst fear of everybody? And he said, really? I pulled my phone out and I showed him. Well, do you know who number 3 was on the list? Going to the dentist. Today I stand before you to introduce someone who's very special to me, my Uncle Bruce Falk. He's not just my uncle, but a remarkable individual whose hard work, his accomplishments have left an incredible mark on my life and inspired me in countless ways. My uncle's journey to success has been nothing short of extraordinary. From a young age, he displayed an unwavering commitment to achieving his lofty goals. Can you imagine building a house right next to the dairy barn in the middle of the country in Salem, Minnesota, and starting a dairy business, or being on the farm in the dairy business, but starting a dental business in the country that people got to drive 15 miles from Roseau and Waro just to come see you and smell a barn when they get out of their vehicle. Not many business bankers would say, yep, I'll sign off on that, sounds like a good deal. He did it, he found a way to do it, and that's quite impressive. One of the qualities that I really truly admire in my uncle is his unparalleled work ethic. He's always been a believer in that, the idea that success is the result of hard work, dedication, perseverance, his relentless pursuit of excellence in not only his career but his hockey career is something that I expect, and I had the privilege of working alongside him at the farm. Milking cows in the mornings, then going back to the dental office to work 8+ hours on people in the dental chair to then just come back out, find me on the farm, and him and I kind of teamed up. We cut a lot of hay together. We ruined a lot of equipment. You can ask Roger. Paul Thompson probably didn't really like Bruce and I on the farm. We went 100 miles an hour, got a lot done, but we broke a lot of things in the way. In fact, one of the funny lines was Bob Peters says, you give me 20 Falks and I'll take on the Russians. Back then the Russians were really good in hockey, but that's how hard of a guy that this guy worked. Not just his professional achievements that I admire, though, it's his accomplishment extends beyond his career. He's involved in a lot of charitable initiatives, striving to give back to communities that have supported him throughout his journey. His philanthropic efforts that have served as a reminder to the true success not measured solely by personal gain, but by the positive impact that one can make on the life of others. He was really helpful with Bemidji and helping them transition to Division I with some donations and his time and his love for the program that he holds very near and dear to his heart. Also a very big supporter of Roseau Youth Hockey as well as the Roseau Rams Hockey Association that we really thank him dearly for, because those things certainly help us try and continue to pave the path forward for the future of Roseau athletics and Roseau hockey. Bruce, you've been a role model to me, who I've had the privilege of knowing and working alongside. Your dedication to your hard work, your remarkable accomplishments and commitment to both family and community make you an individual worth admiring and someone worth emulating. Proud to introduce my uncle, who's the living embodiment of the power of hard work, the importance of giving back to the important things that matter most to himself, and welcome him into the Roseau High School Class Hall of Fame of 2023.
Thanks, Jake. Because, yeah, you can't always believe everything Jake says, though, either, so you have to take it with a grain of salt a little bit. But thanks so much. And I was really surprised when I got the call from Jack Swanson this summer. And I said, I usually don't get a call from Jack. But then when I did call him back, and I was really surprised to hear what he had to say about giving this honor. And I'm very honored. And then he also said you have 5 minutes to do the acceptance speech. So not being much of a public speaker, I said, that's no problem, until my wife got involved, She gives me a lot of hints, and she said, now make sure you talk slowly, so it might take longer than 5 minutes. So I blame her if it does so. And I've always enjoyed, coming to this event each year, just to hear that, all the different speakers, saying what accomplishments they had in their journey to getting those, and just meeting a lot of old, people that come back for these things. So that's quite, I enjoy that. And then looking out here today too, I see a lot of my family and friends and some ex-teammates, and even a former employee, if you can believe that. So, because I've always, I always thought, the only sport I really played was hockey, and that was definitely a team sport, so we depended on each other. So most of you people out here, I consider life a team sport, and you're my teammates. I'm just so glad I can spend this day here with you. Okay, I'd like to congratulate all the other recipients here. They're very, very deserving, that's for sure. And also thank the committee for thinking I was worthy of this honor, plus all the work they put in. And last but not least, I want to thank the people that promoted me. That's you or me. Okay, thank you. So when I was growing up, I grew up north of Salem, and actually, when I leave, I'm actually equal distance from Roseau or Warwood, so I'm kind of in that demilitarized zone. But I was fortunate enough that the school dividing line was a couple of miles east of us, so I was able to go to school in Roseau. So not that word people are bad, because some of my best friends are from Warwood, but I know where my region lies, that's for sure. So my hockey career started in the Salo rink, and we had the coach at the time was Dennis Vattenstall, and he was like the coach and teacher, principal, sometimes bus driver. But he had this special thing in the wintertime, because usually the bus would get in a half hour early before we started school. But in the winter, we'd start school right away, and then we'd forego the morning recess. So we'd have an hour and a half or 2 hours every afternoon to practice hockey. So that definitely made us better. And at the time too, we were playing in the Thursday night league, which is comprised of all the country school and plus 4 or 5 teams from the town kids that were divided into teams. And so then every Thursday night we'd meet in Salo and jump on the bus, and it was usually a full bus with the players and the fans and the parents, everyone. And then after the game, if we won, which we usually did, then we'd be hanging out of the window singing, when the sun goes down, the moon comes up, Salo will shine. So there's only one time, when I think it was in 8th grade, the bus was kind of quiet. But and I guess I won't go into that, I don't have time for that. But if you know Doug Hedlund, I'm sure he'll gladly fill you in on that situation. Also, when I was in 8th grade, I had an opportunity to play for the VFW batting team, and Stan Ospey was our coach. And I look back, it's lucky if we played 10 games all year, and that included the state tournament. It's kind of a little different than nowadays. And we had one overnight trip, and that was to Thief River Falls. And the reason was, because the state tournament was held there, and we had multiple games on multiple days, so we ended up staying overnight. But the thing was that we played downtown, that small rink, that's all Thief River had then. And then we got to stay in the armory next door, and they kind of curtained things off on army cots, all the teams. So I'm sure the kids nowadays would really love that. Okay. Then after that 8th grade, we got to go to school in Roseau. And it was just, I guess I'm very fortunate that my parents let me play hockey, because it was, for us country kids, it was, a lot of them had to quit then because it's, practice was after school, and a lot of, parents, they were farmers, and they couldn't make it so the kid could get in and out of, getting out of town. So I was very fortunate to be able to play. And then spent 2 years playing B team with Frank Mashak, and then 2 years on the varsity with Oscar Elmquist. And it was just like back, like it is today. The object is always get to the state tournament. And I was fortunate enough, we got to the state tournament the 2 years, through the 2 years I played in the varsity. And actually, even though the final year, my senior year was Oscar's last year of coaching, so it was an honor to play for him, be the last team to play for him. So, and then after that, I went on to play for Bob Peters at the Midget State, and Bob was a great influence in my life, that's for sure. And because I really didn't have a very good trial at all, but he had faith in me, and he gave me every chance possible to make the team. It changed my whole course of my life, that's for sure. And but even in the first year, by the middle of the year, I made the varsity, but didn't play much. And I did learn how what it is to become part of the team that year. And we'd gone about the middle of the year. We went up and played Lakehead University up at Thunder Bay, Ontario. And in the middle, I didn't play much. When you sit on the end of the bench next to the spare goalie, you don't get a lot of ice time. So about in the middle of the game, all of a sudden the coach hollers out my name, and I jump up, adrenaline started to flow a little bit. And I get there, and there's another kid sitting there, and he broke a skate, and the coach says, "What size skates do you got?" so then I know I made it. But it did, it got better. So the last 3 years we played regular, and we had a lot of success, and met a lot of people, and did a lot of things, and still to this day, a lot of lifelong friends from those years, that's for sure. So then after college, I went and played, didn't go to play, I went to school, to University of Minnesota for dental school, but sometimes the school interfered with the hockey I was playing then too, so I played a lot of senior hockey, and I stayed down there for 5 years, and actually, the last year I was down there, we got the opportunity to come up to Roseau and play, because the Roseau was hosting the state senior tournament. And even we ended up in the championship game against them, to this day I can't remember who won the game, but it was good, it was a lot of fun. I'm sure someone in the audience might know who won. So then after that, I knew I didn't want to stay in the cities that I spent, so then what I wanted to do, for some stupid reason, I guess I wanted to farm and do dentistry. And so I was fortunate enough, there was a dentist in International Falls. I was looking for someone part-time so I could do the dentistry in the winter, in International Falls, and then could farm in the summer. And it kind of worked out for 11 years, doing back and forth, doing that at different times. And then other than that, I guess I'm still involved with hockey there, some and some back here. So, but then after the 11 years, I decided to build a home on the farm, and then I put an addition on for a dental office, just so I could do it part-time. And after a couple of years, I had 2 full-time jobs. So, but no, it worked out good, and it was what I wanted to do, and that's so important. So then after that, and so after I got back here, I've been still playing a lot of hockey, and there's one person that has maybe helped me more than anything, or is really involved with, and we lost him this last summer. It was Bob, and sorry about that. But he was such a promoter and such an organizer, and I wouldn't be playing hockey to this day without his influence, that's for sure. So I'm very thankful for him, and the community should be too. So because he's organized the teams that we go down to Florida every spring and play in the national tournament down there. So then, that's mostly all the opportunities I've had, the people that have given me these opportunities, and I do, like Jake said, I do give back some, and I feel that's important to try to give others the opportunities that I had growing up. And you have a town here with 3 rinks, and it's unbelievable. But I mean, the costs are a lot. So I mean, and the thing is, hockey's an expensive sport. It'd be nice to get endowments created someday to maybe, just the earnings of those endowments would help defray the costs for some of these young kids that are starting out. And I just think that's so important to keep the numbers there. So that pretty much wraps up most of it, other than just one other thing. I guess, like I said, my wife helped me kind of do some of this stuff. And I didn't get married till I was 48, so I'm not sure it was because Oscar said leave the girls alone, or if it was just I wanted to make sure. But anyway, she kind of jotted down here, she says, just make sure you tell everyone that she was the best thing that ever happened to me. Right? So I guess I can't argue with that, so thanks for that, Joe. Okay. In all seriousness, though, I'm very, very honored to get this award and have the honor to be able to grow up in a community where they offered so much to me. And I just hope in some small way I can kind of shape my life completely. So I just hope in some way I can give back and maybe in some small way help shape some other young person's life. So, okay, thanks so much.
I've never heard Salo described as the demilitarized zone. It's good though. Our next presenter is a good friend of mine. He's a member of the Manitoba Basketball Hall of Fame, the Bemidji State Educators Hall of Fame. He is, I think, the first recipient of the Oscar Almquist Award. Am I right in saying that, Terry? I think that's true for Minnesota hockey. But his greatest accomplishment is surviving a career being tormented by bro. So let me introduce Terry Gotson. Terry.
Thank you, Jack. I'd like to thank Jack especially for having retired since 2010. And Jack and I proposed to the board to start this Hall of Fame. And we had a couple of years we just couldn't get it through. We finally got it through, and Jack was a big part of that. And after I retired, Jack continued with the program, and I'm pleased with that too. I'd like to congrats the other inductees for being inducted here. One thing, I'm on the committee and I sit on the discussion for each applicant, and we have a lot of applicants every year. But when you have to sort through, Roseau has a lot of potential people to be in the Hall of Fame. So these people up here have earned respect to the committee and the community. I'd like to thank Tony Erickson, Art Salpaka's grandson, because he helped me put this bio together, and I'm pleased to do this presentation today. I came to Roseau in 1969, and I finally met Art. I was at the Roseau Arena one Saturday morning, and I saw this guy scurrying back and forth, and I thought, well, he must be in charge of something. So I asked somebody, and they said, well, that's Art Salpaka. He started the Saturday morning league here, and he's known as the father of Roseau youth hockey. And boy, he was. Everybody talks about Roseau's hockey programs and the years that we go to state tournaments, etc., and the success it is. But it's because of the youth programs that Roseau has in place year after year. To be able to compete with the city teams, we still compete with them. We can't win all the time, but we were able to compete with them. And it's because of Art Salpaka's background. He had a vision. He was followed by John Carter and Carson Hedlund. They took over the program after he retired from being the director. And they represented Roseau JCs at that time. The Roseau Youth Programs continues to thrive because we turn out teams year after year. Well, Art was born in Finland and immigrated with his family to Minnesota from the Iron Range in the 1920s. Art played high school hockey at Evelyn and went on to a college career at St. Cloud State before moving to Roseau County in 1938. While at St. Cloud State, Art was a goaltender there. He was Warroad's first high school hockey coach. After serving in the U.S. Navy during World War II, he returned to Roseau as Oscar Almquist assistant coach in 1946. He ran the Roseau Saturday morning youth program from 1946 to 1971. During that span of time, Art realized Oscar Longwood needed a better feeder program, so he started the Thursday night league in addition to the Saturday league in 1951. He ran that program for 10 years. During Art's 25-year involvement in Roseau hockey, the Rams won 4 state champions, were runner-up 5 times, and made 17 state tournament appearances. Art Zapaka was also a coach, a referee, and mentored players, and he also cleaned the ice. Well, we couldn't pull that off this year, this day and age. One person doing all those jobs. Art received numerous medals and commendations for his service in World War II, was Roseau Teacher of the Year, was the Four Seasons Board Chair in 1980, and was named the 1988 Roseau County Senior Citizen of the Year. I'd like to call upon his grandson, Tony Erickson, to accept his entrance into the Roseau Hall of Fame.
Right, thanks Terry, and congratulations to everyone here today for their induction into the Athletic Hall of Fame. And it's an honor for me to be here to accept this award as well. I was trying to think of what Grandpa would say if he was actually here accepting the award, and it's not real easy to think of what he might want to say. I don't imagine it would have been much, to be completely honest. He was, I think the first thing he would have done, it was the way it makes it sound is that he was the only person doing a whole bunch of different jobs all at once. I imagine he was for a good amount of it, but he probably would have went down a list of all the others involved. Oscar Almquist, Terry Abram. I imagine the list goes on and on of different people where right about now he'd be thanking all these other people who contributed, because it certainly wasn't him alone. But he certainly did a fair amount, and it was one of those things where, looking back, most of the words I have from him about it, he passed when I was 15, so it's not like we really talked about it. So if I read articles when he comments about, Roseau hockey, he keeps it pretty simple and just says, for the love of the game. It was needed, the kids loved it, and he loved it, so he was going to do it. And I'm pretty sure if he was able to see what things have developed into now, he would certainly be proud of what Roseau hockey's become. It takes more than just one person, to get a program going. And when a program's developed into what Roseau's become, to this size when it comes to hockey, it takes an entire community, as most people in here know. And so he would certainly be proud of that. After his hockey days, he was involved in the senior citizen board and a lot of different things in the community. So it wasn't just hockey. Roseau was important to him as a whole. So speaking of the love of hockey, like I said, he passed when I was 15, 1998. So that was the midst of our Bantam A season, or Jake and I's Bantam A season. And it was kind of funny because, Jake and I were both goalies, and Grandpa, as sick as he was in the last year or so, he would travel to all the games still whenever he could. Hour trip to Badette, go to Crookston, even Bagley in the young days, or the old days. But and it was, he didn't mind if I was playing or if I wasn't, because Jake was a good goalie too. But as you can imagine, Jake, he had the same feedback for me as he did for you. Stand up more, quit flopping. He was from a different time. In all honesty, they didn't even have helmets or face masks when he was at St. Cloud State. So it's kind of funny to see pictures of him standing there, nothing on his face. But so it made sense when he would tell me, get off the ice, Tony. You're not going to stop pucks down there. I'd say, yeah, no, you'll see. Yeah, it didn't always work out. But long story short, he would be, as modest as he was, as modest as anyone can be, still have pride. And I'm pretty sure if he was able to go around town and see the rinks that have popped up, the programs that have developed, the female program that's going now, all the different things, he'd be pretty proud to look at what Roseau hockey's become. So, again, thanks everyone for being here, and yeah, appreciate it.
My father told me he bought his first car from Art Salpak. I told Tony this earlier. Paid $40 for it. Can you imagine? $40 for a car. Our next presenter is a Hall of Famer himself. And interestingly, he was inducted in the Bemidji High School Athletic Hall of Fame along with Ray Kavanaugh. And folks that have been here long enough will remember Ray Kavanaugh as well as a coach and teacher in Roseau. So I'd like to present Jim Grimm. Jim?
Good afternoon, everybody. Certainly an honor to be here, unexpected. I'd certainly like to congratulate all the inductees. I had a chance to check the wall out there with the inductees that are already in the Roseau Hall of Fame, and oh my goodness, it's remarkable. These are people that are not just legends in Roseau, they're legends in Minnesota, and some of them worldwide. That tells you a lot about the Roseau community and the kind of people that nurture people that accomplish those kinds of things. When I was thinking about Tracy, and obviously his coaching and playing, you can read it, it's there, it's unbelievable. I'm talking about a freshman who goes to Bemidji State and makes the starting pitching rotation on a World Series team and is all section. That doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. What's even more remarkable is when we got to the World Series that year, it was held in Lubbock, Texas. There were 8 other teams there. Each team had 24 full ride players on their team. The NAIA had no limitation on scholarships. Bemidji State had 0. Tracy was a big part of that team. He's done the epic and legendary things that people take notice of. We were in Winona in a conference tournament, and Tracy was up, and he was if you know Tracy, he's a free swinger. He really likes to swing the bat hard. And our coach was very disciplined kind of guy, and once you got 2 strikes, you had to either choke up or spread your hands a little bit so you wouldn't strike out. Can't strike out if you're on the Beavers. Well, Tracy spread his hands and hit a ball over 500 feet. It cleared the right field wall, which was 24 feet high, which was the back of the grandstand for football. It cleared the stands. It cleared the track that was in front of the stands and bounced once and hit a team warming up coach in the leg. He ran around because he thought someone was throwing a ball at him, and he saw Tracy rounding the bases. And he came to me after the game and said, "I can't believe that. I thought someone was throwing a ball at me. Did he really hit the ball that far?" He sure did. That's Tracy Wentzlaw. But Tracy's way more than a player and a coach. I look at one of my favorite movies of all time is It's a Wonderful Life. Do you know that movie? It's a Christmas movie, George Bailey. To me, Tracy is a lot like George Bailey. He sacrificed so much to be the guy that could help his hometown. He's a math major at BSU who could go almost anywhere and make a ton of money. But that's not Tracy. What does Tracy do? He ends up coming back to Roseau, where he can have an impact on his hometown. Help kids. He could have made tons of money doing other things as a math person. He's a brilliant guy. All you have to do is talk to him for a second. And you know, he's got an extra light on up there that we don't have. He just does. He's a brilliant fellow. But what's most impressive is how he treats other people. Like George Bailey, it seemed like everyone with a little less, maybe not have everything all together, they're attracted to Tracy. Why? Because he treats them so well. He treats them like an equal. We had a guy like that at BSU who befriended Tracy, and Tracy was humble and patient and made a great friend for life. And that guy didn't have the opportunities that most people would have because he didn't have that extra light bulb. But still, Tracy treated him like a prince. And he treated his teammates that same way. And it wasn't that he's soft. If you've ever watched him coach, you've certainly seen him blow a gasket now and again. He's a very competitive, tough SOB, but only when it's the right time. Tracy understands people. He gives his life back to his community, and his teammates love him every step of the way. I'm so honored that he asked me to present him. What a remarkable fellow. And he's going to continue to make Roseau a better place every day. So it's my honor to introduce to you the newest member of your Hall of Fame, Tracy Wentzlaw.
My attempt at using technology today. We'll see how this goes. Thanks, Grimmer. I want to start out this afternoon by saying thank you to the Hall of Fame Committee for the nomination selection. Kenny, thank you for putting me up for this. I appreciate it. Thank you to the community members who came out this afternoon and shared a little of their time with us. I told Stuart beforehand, we're going to try to get out of here by 3. Actually, I'd like to keep you here till like 5 to save you the pain of watching the Vikings get throttled today. A special thank you to Coach Grimm. Grimmer's been had a significant influence on my life, and he continues to do so day in and day out. You've heard a lot about the community of Roseau today. I think community is one of the critical components of any player, any coach's life. The environment that I grew up here in Roseau is probably, I have a hard time thinking that there was a greater time for a kid to be a kid in Roseau than when I grew up. The people that I got to watch play, Neil and Aaron Broughton, Brian Erickson, Doug Ammerman, and many, many others that are already members of the Hall of Fame. What a treat to watch them play night in and night out. Not only did I get to watch guys play that are in the Hall of Fame, but I also got to play for Hall of Fame coaches. Norb Pastor, Gary Hokinson, Gary Ross, Bob Montebello at BSU, Jim Grimm at BSU. My life has been inundated with Hall of Famers. Well, playing for those people, came back to Roseau, and I was fortunate enough that my life continued with more Hall of Famers influencing me. Terry Gottsman, thank you for hiring me in 1994. That's when my career in Roseau began. I remember that interview. I've had 2 jobs in my life, 2 significant jobs. The first one I was the only applicant for, so they had to hire me. And the second one was when I came back to Roseau, and I think it was between me and one other local guy, not area guy, and they chose me. And my life has been wonderful ever since. But I got to play with guys like Mark Huglin. The 1982 baseball team at BSU went to the national tournament. Number of Hall of Famers on that team. I got to work with Dan Fabian. I got to coach guys like Dustin Timmersman and Joe Banke. Doug Baravich. I don't know how many of you know Doug, but Doug might be the toughest SOB that I've ever met. Taught me a lot about life and how to get through life. The Olsen boys, Jeff and Jeff, and Bruce, all Hall of Famers that I had the opportunity to work with. I was fortunate enough to work in schools that supported their coaches. I was fortunate enough to work in communities that supported their coaches. Terry, I remember as my AD, just make sure that I have a good reason to back you. In my lifetime, there have been several people that have had, lots and lots of people that have influenced me, but there are a few that I'd just like to make note of today. The first one is my mom. I don't know how many of you know my mother, but if ever there was a competitor, my mom was her. Okay? I was a 9th grader in high school before I beat her in arm wrestling. I was probably a junior in high school before I beat her in leg wrestling. And I don't know if I ever beat her in ping pong. She was a human backboard and just absolutely knew how to get under my skin just enough so I just couldn't perform. And so my mom was a tremendous influence. The competitive nature, her competitive nature, I think is what flows through us. To balance that out, I had my dad. And I think my dad was probably had the greatest influence on my coaching. My dad was a squirt hockey coach here for it seemed like 100 years. And my dad would make my mother so mad because of the way he would handle his teams. Back then, and even to this day, you needed to carry 3 lines, 4 defensemen, and 2 goaltenders. And if you're going to carry 3 lines, 4 defensemen, and 2 goaltenders, they all need to play. And they all need to have their opportunities in big moments. And it used to tick my mom off so badly, she would say, David, if they're going to keep score, you got to play to win. And to his credit, there was never any such thing as shortening the bench. We're going to run them. 3 lines, 4 defensemen, 2 goaltenders. That's who we're here to develop, and that's who's going to play. And that was a philosophy that I think I really tried to maintain as I went through my career. If we're going to carry them, we're going to develop them. Monty, Coach Bob Montebello, and Grimmer at Bemidji State. It was really hard for me in high school and growing up because always as a player I was comparing myself to somebody else. And if you've spent your life trying to live up to the expectations of other people, it's a really hard way to live your life. When I was growing up, there was a kid in my life by the name of Perry Espy. Some of you may know Perry. Perry had a beard and mustache when he was 10 years old. He was a man when he was 10 years old. There was nobody who could compete with this guy. And of course, this is the guy you had to measure yourself against. When I got to high school, the guy was Mark Hughlin. Mark Hughlin's in the Hall of Fame. If any of you ever had a chance to watch Mark Hughlin play and perform, absolute stud. Okay? But again, when you spend your life trying to live up to what somebody else was accomplishing, it was a really hard thing to do. It was really when I got to BSU where Monty and Grimmer did just a fantastic job of helping me learn that just being you is enough. I have a letter to this day that Grimmer wrote to me my senior year on the way to the playoffs, talking about success and failure. And not focusing your life on your failures, because over the course of a lifetime, there are going to be so many more successes in your lifetime that you can draw on that you have to forget the failures. So my experience at BSU was a tremendous one. 2 coaches in my lifetime that had significant influence were Jeff Mumm in Thief River Falls and Doug Borovich in Roseau. Jeff and I were first or second year coaches together in Thief River, and those 2 guys, if you want to see passion about what they're doing, those 2 guys were perfect models for what passion should look like. The time and the energy and the love that they put into what they did couldn't help but rub off on those around them. And then the influence of my kids. I have just a couple of stories I'd like to share with about my kids and how much of an impact they had. The first one's my daughter Kate. Okay, being a first-time dad, and of course being a hockey fan, you got to get your kids on the ice early, right? Well, Kate was 4 years old at the time, and it was time for her to start playing Monday Night League. Well, Bergie, you might remember this. At that time, Monday Night League was whoever wanted to come out through 10 years old. Okay, so my daughter's 4, and the first person she runs into on the first night is Caitlin Bufflin on skates. Well, Caitlin is a good-sized girl. My daughter looked at Caitlin. She looked at me, she said, "I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it." And we spent the first night watching Monday Night League. Well, being the parent that I am, not very smart at the time, we go back the second week. I'm not doing it. I am not going to play Monday Night League. She's 4 years old. What are you doing, Dad? Well, finally, the third week, we got her to go on the ice. And her coaches, can't remember who was in the box at that time. I think it was Jamie Bufflin. Anyway, Jamie was running the door, and Kate gets in the box, and she's not going to go on the ice until probably halfway through the game. Jamie gets her out there, and then closes the door and won't let her come off. So my daughter skated from, I think, about red line to blue line. That's about as far as she got. She never touched the puck. And that was her first night of hockey. It was my first lesson in handling your own kids. Second lesson was my son, Danny. Danny was, I think, probably 9 or 10 at the time. And he was having a conversation with his aunt. And his aunt was asking him about his favorite activities. And Danny responds, well, his favorite activity was golf. What? We don't even play golf in our family. How can it be golf? Well, for those of you that came through Roseau at the time, golf on Mondays was free. There's no adult on the course. It's all kids. And how could you not love that opportunity? So anyway, well, what else do you like to do? I like to play football. Football? We don't even play football in elementary. Hockey's next. Well, that made sense because he was a hockey player. And finally she said, what about baseball? And Daddy looked at her and she said, baseball is way too stressful for me. And again, it was a second lesson in my lifetime where, Dad, you got to back off. You got to be a coach. You got to be a dad, but you got to back off. Third lesson, and it's fun because all 3 of my kids have taught me significant lessons in life. The third one was my daughter, Rebecca. I'm helping coach softball. And this past spring, we had a tough week. Tuesday, we're coming to practice. I think it was a Tuesday, whatever day it was. Anyway, girls come in and they're just crying on the bench. What is going on? And of course, not having coached girls a lot, probably not enough, I found out that it doesn't sometimes take much, okay? So the next day, we got a game. We got girls crying in the dugout before the game starts. This is really hard for me because there's no answers for this. What are we doing here? After the game, well, this would have been the next day in practice, I pulled the girls together and we're talking to them after practice and girls, we got to get a handle on this. And nobody's saying anything, nobody's sharing what's going on. And my daughter, with a deadpan look at her face, looks at me, she said, Dad, we're just all synced up. I don't know if that was the case, but it was another lesson for me to learn. It just goes to show you that there any time in life. In closing, I want to make sure I thank, again, the Hall of Fame Committee for the selection and for the nomination. Thank you for the community members for coming out today. Special thanks to Grimmer for doing the presenting. Grimmer has always held a special place in my heart. He taught me to have fun playing baseball when it wasn't always fun for me. Special thanks to all of those assistant coaches that have helped me throughout the years. Anybody who's done any coaching knows that it is critically important to surround yourself with good people. And for sure, I have been surrounded by good people. Most importantly, I'd like to thank my family for the support that they have shown all these years. Again, as coaches, you know that the number one sacrifices that you're going to make are with your own family. There's just, to do your jobs at the level that you need to do them, it takes time. And it's oftentimes family that has to make room for that. And I'd like to especially thank my wife, Kate, for giving me a second opportunity. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
I'm going to introduce yet another Hall of Famer, but I need to tell you this quick story. The match against Stewartville, quarterfinals of that state tournament that these girls were part of, was a Thursday night, and it was a parent-teacher conference night. And I don't know how many people in this room were at parent-teacher conferences that night, but Zoller was over the loudspeaker and nobody was paying any attention to the parent-teacher thing. It was the volleyball thing is what it was. So another Hall of Famer, love to introduce Cherry Staff Nelson. She's a member of the University of Minnesota Crookston Athletic Hall of Fame. Cherry?
I didn't used to need these, but time marches on. I'd like to thank the committee as well. I have a sneaking suspicion of who might have nominated our team. Maybe on the bench over here, I'm not sure. But thank you, Mr. Gossman, for your support all the years. It was invaluable. But thanks for the honor of presenting for our 1999 volleyball team. We had such a great year and season. We got, before the 99 season, we got close many times, but didn't make it. We finally made it to the big show. And I think we were all, when we got down there, we were all a little bit starstruck, a little bit nervous, because we took on that Stewartville team who was ranked #1. And the first game of the match was not very pretty. We lost 15-1. And in my mind, I'm going, oh my goodness, we're going to embarrass ourselves. What are we doing here? We don't belong here, blah, blah, blah. All those things went through my mind. But instead of saying that to the girls, called a huddle and said, you know, losing is not an option. We got to get this together. We can do this. We can do this. And in all honesty, I didn't know if we really could, but I wasn't going to tell them that. But the night before the game, you look forward to all these things down at the state tournament that we've heard about all these years. And one of the things was the banquet. And we were all excited to go to the banquet. Everybody got all dressed up. And one of the things at the banquet that you look forward to is to see I think there were rink rats for hockey tournaments and gym rats for volleyball and basketball. We walked in, we got there, saw the shirts, we're all excited, and there was a green and white gym rat on the sweatshirt, but it didn't say Roseau. It said Roseville. They made a mistake, and everybody in the whole state except for our team, anybody who got one of those shirts, it still has the wrong one to this day. We were the only ones that got the correct version. So we started off being called Roseville, and then the Star Tribune referred to us as Roseau in that press. But as the tournament progressed, they finally were starting to get it correct. After coming back and losing 15-1 against Stewartville, the girls never gave up. They persevered, came back and won and knocked out the #1 seed, which was incredible. Highlighted the tournament. Pretty incredible time. Last night we got together at Jean's, the girls and coaches, and we had a lot of time to reminisce back and forth, and a lot of fun memories came back. And I think that's what the whole team thing, you develop a family, and some of these stories were pretty funny. You kind of had to be there, but I'm going to tell them anyway. Some of the parents would know some of these stories as well. We had to fund our own hotel rooms when we'd go to tournaments. So being the frugal person I am, I found like the cheapest motel, not a hotel, but a motel where you would literally drive up and everybody has their own door. Well, the one was called the Oasis in Perham. I'm certain it's been demolished probably the week after we left. And we each got our own little keys, and I went and opened my door, and I go in, and there's a man in my bed. Don't know him. So I instantly shut the door and went out by the van, because we drove vans to the tournaments. And I'm freaking out, kind of knowing, what do I do? And then this guy comes to the door, opens the door, and he's just in a towel. So it's getting worse and worse. I'm just like, I'm gonna go back to, oh, that's the other thing. We had to check in at the gas station to get our keys. So I had to go back to the gas station to see what the deal was. And I think Carrie might have another story about that motel in a little bit. Another funny one in another sketchy motel was the Winnie Mac Motel, which I know has been demolished. The girls, we were probably at the Winnie Mac tournament, and they had this one room. It had like 3 beds. It just has this really long room. It's very strange, but the price was right. Somebody woke up at like 3 in the morning and thought it was time to get ready to go to the game. So they woke up everybody else. Everybody's getting ready. They're literally ready by 4 in the morning, and we didn't play until like 9. So a little bit. But the support from, I'd like to thank the parents for all the support throughout the year. Obviously, we couldn't do this without you. Mr. Gottsman for his unwavering support throughout the year. Wouldn't have made it through. I personally would not have made it through the year without you. Desi Clemish and Carl Nelson were integral parts in our getting down to the state tournament, which is something we had dreamed of since we started. There's a lot of other people that you have to thank as well. And when it's not just your team, it's your community that gets behind you. We had the greatest fans. Now they call it cheer squad. It wasn't technically a cheer squad back then, but we always had the guys in the one corner, and some nights they'd wear blaze orange. A lot of people would tell me that they would listen to the games in the deer stand, and some may have missed a deer here and there because they were cheering because something good happened. But we also had one that really sticks out in my mind is Sue Butler, was our bus driver for many of our games. And Sue when we were down in the cities for the tournament, she took us anywhere we wanted to go. This big long bus. You want to go shopping? Yep, we'll go shopping. You want to go here? Yep, we'll go. You want to go bowling? We'll go bowling. She did all of that, no complaints. I think she had just as much fun as everybody else. And then on the way back, after we got second place in state, on the way back, we were about 5 miles out of town, and I was sitting up in front by Sue, and I did not think Sue could see the road because she was crying so hard that there was just tears everywhere. But her support was certainly appreciated. Crazy Russ, super fan, still to this day, you go, that's pretty good. We couldn't have done it without you as well. I mean, lots of good times. But in the end, after all your Roseville, your Rosemont, all that stuff, in the end, we made a name for ourselves by coming back. You know, not losing that Stewartville game, which we rocked their world because they were number 1, thought they were going to breeze through it. Getting through the next game 3-2, then we met up with a really tough team in Jackson County Central and struggled, but we made a name for ourselves. We were no longer Roseville or Rosemont, we were Roseau Rams, and we proved that not just hockey teams can get down to the state tournament, which was nice. With that being said, it is my honor and privilege to present to the 1999 volleyball team. Back to the Hall of Fame, so I would like Carrie DeYoung from one of our captains to come on up. I know it's not Carrie DeYoung anymore, but
Awesome, thank you. So I have to start by saying we got together last night and we were telling stories, and a lot of them had to do with Tracy Wentzoff, because he was coming in too. So I just want to say that if there was a Hall of Fame for catching girls passing notes in math class, you would be in that one too. And then Trudy had the best memory of the, remember in baseball practice, we had our batting cages together in the cafeteria with fast pitch, and we thought we could hit the baseballs, and it turns out we couldn't, but he had so much fun watching us try, and it was just really fun to practice with him, so it was good. Awesome, thank you. This is such an honor for us. We just had such a great group of athletes in the year 2000, and we are blessed to have played with them. It was a vibe, I think. We loved volleyball. We loved volleyball from a very young age. I remember Bob and Jeannie Glassman begging them to open the gym for us on the Saturdays or in the summers, or just constantly wanting to play more and more and more. And it wasn't just volleyball, it was all the sports, and we just loved hanging out and having that time together. There was a lot of, people. There was obviously the high school program. We also had a really strong JO program. So Lenny spent a ton of time, Wilberg with us and developing us. Vicki Winkler, remember? She invited us to her wedding. Like, what was she thinking to have like all of these 7th graders take over her wedding? But she was amazing and spent a ton of extra time with us as well. So just a huge thanks to all the coaches here tonight and everyone that kind of helped develop and spend time with us. And then the parents, I mean, you guys, I was listening to the story about Sarah Erickson's grandparents who would always say she had a good game even if she didn't. And I just want to say we didn't have the same parents. Ours did not do that at all, but they were in it and they love it. And I know to this day, a lot of them still travel to go to volleyball games together, and they just love the sport too. So it was really cool to see that. Not the best drivers down in the cities. I remember we would hit the kind of 694, 494 split, and Terry Lumbum always radio off, no talking, nothing, and she'd focus. My dad didn't do that, but he also didn't like to go the right way on one-ways, so maybe he should have. And Sue was really the only one we trusted down there to drive us around, so thank you for that. And then, yeah, our community was amazing. I mean, I know one of the stories I remember is when we made the state tournament, it was during the hunting opener, and Mr. Platson looked at the tubas, I think Aaron Diggerness started it, but looked at the tuba section, and it was like, you guys are all going to the cities. You show up for that bus, and you're going to the cities. And Aaron Diggerness, it took him a day to kind of come to terms with it, but he came down, and the band was amazing. We got the Sportsman Award. Just our fans really showed up for us, and I think for us that meant a lot. I mean, there was a lot of really great hockey players in that day as well, and just to see the support for the girls game was awesome. So yeah, so that's it. Thank you so much. We're super excited. The girls love to be the center of attention, so go ask them a ton of questions at coffee. And yeah, thank you.
I asked Carrie where she stayed last night because I figured maybe, I don't know, Emily's or Heidi's or someplace. She stayed at the American so she could get a good night's sleep. Why are you guys laughing? I thought she was telling the truth. Apparently they were out last night. So folks, coffee and treats after, please join us for that. And all volleyball ladies, coaches, Carl was here, I said I don't know where he is now, but he was here somewhere. There he is right there. Pictures please in front of the plaques on the wall, and also presenters and acceptors up here. So thank you all for coming, appreciate it very much, thank you.